Crafted here, we're going to build an extension cord. This is a cord that I cut off of a discarded carpet cleaner. It's moderately heavy, not real heavy, and this is a power strip that's intended to be screwed over an outlet to give you 6 outlets, a strip expander or an outlet expander, I guess it is. And I'm going to make this into the end for this. I've got $3 invested in this. This was free. And it's hard to pass up a opportunity to get an extension cord on the cheap once in a while. Copper is very expensive today. What we're going to need for this, if I've gotten all my tools out, I have a measuring device. You don't need something this fancy. I have a drill bit. I'll show you how I arrived at that size. A drill, my parts for my project, some heat shrink tubing to build strain relief with, some zip ties to retain the cord once it's in here, a wire stripper, and a pocket knife. And one more thing we're going to need, you can use a wooden handle on a screwdriver, or plastic handle on a screwdriver. Plastic hammer is the ideal thing, and a little bit of adhesive. Now the first thing we got to do is get this apart. This has been sonically welded, which means it's held in a mold and vibrated at high frequency, and the two plastics melt together. And this used to be a mystery to me years ago, how to open these things, battery packs and such that are assembled this way, but it's really not very hard. Let's see if it works. We're going to take the plastic hammer and strike it. We're shocking the joint as we go around here. And one of the things I need to do is remove these parts. When I was shopping for something to put on the end of this cord, they had plenty of ends, single ends, for about $3. And I discovered this part was $3. And it's like, well, it'd be a lot nicer to have 6 ends. You can hear that sounds a little different than that. That's already open. That's open. This is pretty tough. See if I can open it now. Let's see here. Might need a little bit of persuading. I'm trying to fracture the fairly brittle area where the plastic was welded together. There we go. Hopefully it actually is welded and not glued. But if it's glued, we'll deal with that some way. Now note, I'm not cutting it with this knife as much as I am just prying it open. Okay, so I see a little, prying the gap open, I see a little bit of progress here. I'll try to do this without breaking it. Hope, however, it's configured inside, it'll be easy to remove these parts without disabling the whole thing. I've really looked in one of these before. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a there we go. I think we got it now. Oh, tricky. Maybe not too bad. So we got to get these ground pins out. Oh, interesting. So what actually locates these things in position, well, not really. Let's see. They're located in here. Okay. So I think all we're going to have to do is cut the blades off So you see how that all goes together. Wait a minute. Be careful how we put it together so we don't have a fire. So this rail is not touching this rail anywhere. So we've got to cut all this stuff off. Looks like I'm going to need a Dremel tool. Oh, we have a rivet here. I can unrivet. I can drill these rivets out and separate this that away. You know, I think that's what I'm going to do. So let me get all my parts out of here, and we'll go over to the drill press. Okay, we're over at the drill press. I could do this with a hand drill, of course. And I've got a drill press, so I'm going to do it this way. I've chosen an 1/8 inch drill bit. The 1/8 inch bit is larger than the hole these rivets are installed in, and all I want to do is cut the head off. And I'll try to do this so you can see what's going on. I'm going to hold this part with a towel. I don't want it to grab the bit and cut me. Okay, so here we go. We've never removed a rivet before. Show you what's happened. You can see the rivet is, you see one rivet head is cut off. This one up here, and then that one down there is still there. And here's the rivet head. So this is a very easy procedure. Like I said, this would be easy to do with a hand drill also. You want to cut it slowly so the rivet doesn't turn. I started a little quickly with that one. We've got all of our rivets drilled. I have a little nail here in case I need to persuade these rivets out of here. Still have our plastic hammer. This board has a hole in it. See if that works or makes it worse. These really should be flat on the end. Let's see. Might. See what happens. Should be able to drive these rivets out of here. Yeah, let's drive it out. That part's free. That out. That rivet out. Never be afraid to open something up just because you don't know what you're going to find inside. We can just solve those problems on the fly. You can hold the ends of them. Aha! There we go. I didn't need a pry bar at all. So I got those out now. There we go. 3 parts. So we can discard these parts. Straighten these back out. see, this is the ground. Oops. Let's go in here like so. So there we go. All of our contacts are back in place. Now we need to prepare this case for the entry of the wire. We'll go ahead and remove these again. We know we can fit them all back in place. Okay, how I arrived at a drill bit size. So the next thing, I got to drill a hole here. You measure the wire, it's roughly 272. 0.272, 0.275 inches. Measure the heat shrink, it's about 0.3. Now I want to put 2 layers of heat shrink on it, and this will actually get a little thicker when I shrink it. I want to put 2 layers of heat shrink on it, so I need to add about 60 thousandths to this. This is about 265, 270. So I need a drill bit at least about 0.330. Now when you measure a drill bit, you don't measure it like this, because this is not necessarily accurate. You put the drill bit in the calipers and you turn the drill bit backwards and open up the calipers until you're just kissing. Now see, this drill bit is really about 329.329. Now if I measure it back here, it looks like a 0.325. If I'm sorting drill bits, I might get a drill bit in the wrong spot in the index. Now it's important when you turn this that you really are turning it backwards, because you don't want to cut the inside of your digital calipers. Digital calipers are a very, very handy tool. Of course, this isn't necessary because you can look up your drill bit sizes on a chart online, see how big each one of them is. You can just you can use drill bits and keep drilling out 1 bit at a time until you're at the right size. I think this is about the right size. My cord's going to come out. I'll have my cord come out here. Well, it's vibrating. I wonder if I have debris or something in my chuck. It's also more accurate when you chuck up a bit to kind of be turning the bit as you snug up on it. Still got a little wobble. There we go. Carved out a nice round hole. I'm going to use these cutters. I'm going to try to be very sharp. I'm going to try to get rid of this jacket without scratching the wire inside. If I do, I'll just trim off and do it again. I don't want to break, I don't want to put a mark in the insulation on that wire on the inside and cause it to reveal a bare spot later. So now I want to work on my strain relief. If we don't put some strain relief here, this will eventually crack right there. A lot of appliances that you get, they fail to put proper strain relief on things. You can do this with a lighter. This is polyolefin tubing, heat shrink, but you want to keep the lighter moving rapidly. The best thing is a heat gun, something like a paint stripper gun set to a middle to a low setting. Caught the string on fire there. Hope the lighter doesn't fall apart from being ran so long. we go. Use 2 layers. One's longer than the other, so I don't want to have the wire very stiff where the end of the heat shrink is and have all the bending occur there and have it crack there. So we're going to secure it inside the hole here, about right here. And so it'll bend a little here, a little more here, a little more here. So that's strain relief, so we get a nice radius instead of a corner. Now I expect my hole to be a little tight. It is. So we're going to go to the next size bit. I can probably just run this through by hand. Maybe not. That baby's a little bit sharp. There we go. I think I can get it through this hole. Maybe not. Alright, what I'm doing now is I slip the heat shrink up to where it's just a little bit over the edge, so it'll shrink and roll down. Hopefully that'll give me a little bit of lead into the hole. Oh, it's so close. I don't want this hole to be loose. Let's try that again. A little more heat. There we go. Now it's rolled down for sure. So I won't snag the edge of the cut heat shrink. And there we go. We're in the hole, baby. Okay. Now to retain it, I'm going to put a zip tie on it. I'm going to wrap this zip tie twice. Get it up over the wire. There we go. So I got a double loop of a zip tie. Handiest things ever. I'm going to pull this down as tightly as I can. A couple extra clicks there. And the beautiful thing about these side cutters where they're sharpened right on one edge is I can reach down there and nip that off flush. Won't have any ticklish bits standing up to interfere with my lid when I glue it back on. Alright, now we got to strip all these wires. Okay. Now I have to figure out how to connect these wires to my contacts inside and which contacts to connect them to. I think I can just solder them directly to that bar. I think what I'm going to do is notch this and solder the wire right there. Then I'll also have to run a set of jumper wires over here to this side. I went and grabbed an outlet to check this. The brass screw is where the black wire goes, the golden brass colored screw. The silvery screw is always where the white wire goes. Now I noticed that the dark screw, or the brass colored screw, is associated with the shorter of the 2 blade entries here. So I want to make sure I get that correct on this outlet too. And we can see that that's all of the blade slots opposite of the cord entry. So that means it's this one and this one is going to get the black wire or the hot wire. So I'm going to mark these like that so I don't make a mistake. So that'll be going to the outside. The white one will be going to this one here and this one here. And then the ground will of course run to these tabs when we've got these installed. I'm just going to notch the plastic here to get the wire through. And I'll secure that wire with a little bit of adhesive. Tin my soldering iron. I'm going to pre-tin, which means to wet with solder these 3 wires that I'm going to solder. And notice I'm heating the wire with the iron and melting the solder on the copper, not on the iron. Okay, and then this is the spot on the ground pin where I'm going to put its wire, so I'm going to pre-tin that little spot. There we go. Hopefully that's not too hot to touch. And now I got to come up with a way to hold that momentarily. Let me find a stick. Okay, I can do this with my little pry bar screwdriver here. Just hold that down, melt the two together, and hold it there until it's cooled plenty. Ooh, stuck it to the plastic a little bit, that's okay. Put this over here before I burn myself. Okay. So this needs to get a white wire. So we'll do the same thing. See if we can tin this quickly. There we go. Perfect. Cool. And pull out the next one. Now remember, this is the blade that gets the black wire. You don't want to tin these on the wrong side. Now if you make your own outlet strip like this, extension cord, you may not have to do exactly these things. I'm just showing you how I did it with a sander. This bank all wired up, and now I'm running jumpers over to this bank of outlets. So I went and got some scrap wire. Pays to save that stuff. The blue here is going to be my ground. Okay, we got it all wired now. We've got everything running to the correct location. Got to arrange these wires carefully. Everything is soldered, and the next step is to glue on the back plate. Okay, got everything pushed down in here, fitting well, soldered. Lid goes on beautifully, no debris in the way. There's a cover at the back. We're going to now glue this on. Now I'm going to put a little glue on these wires so nothing moves. I don't know if that's really necessary, but I've got the glue bottle open. I'm using a glue called Zap Goo. This is very handy. It's kind of a clear, slimy glue. It'll dries clear, dries quickly, sticks to about everything. Especially good with plastics. You can, if you put it under pressure, cause it to release. Not that it will ever really come apart on its own, it won't. But if I were to put a screwdriver in the joint here and put some pressure on it, and let it set for a while, it would probably slowly release. And we use this in the model airplane hobby to glue servos into wings and things, because it's possible to get them out, but there's no chance of them coming out by accident. So we got that all around the edges, in all these places here. Time to put the back on. Now, other than this little melted spot I did with my iron, this little box should be stock appearing when we get done. I think I'm going to just jig it together here with electrical tape. And let's see, I'll take my pocket knife. That's a little wide. Need something a little shorter. Here we go. Yeah, I'm not going to use anything. Just going to use the tension of the tape. Might be a waste of a little bit of electrical tape, but this is a pretty old roll. I need to use it before the glue quits working. Anyways. Okay. It'll make a fine enough jig to hold this all together. This glue takes, well, I don't know, it tacks up and gets reasonably strong in an hour or two. But I think I'll come back to this tomorrow and we'll try it out, and we'll have us one 6-way extension cord. Next day, put away most of my tools, cleaned up most of my mess, and I have these. Are these plated steel or are they brass? I do save metal. This is my little pocket survival tin, and I have in here some magnets so we can determine if these are steel or not. Ah, these are solid brass. So that means I probably really don't want to throw these in the trash. I have a bin where I keep aluminum and brass and other metals of value, and we produce metals like that at my company, so we will occasionally turn some in for recycling. So let's peel the tape off. So there we go. One relatively long extension cord with 6 outlets. And I only spent $3. And a little bit of my time. And I did something productive with my weekend time. I now have a new tool that I can use.